How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I want to talk about one of the most underrated, possibly one of the cheapest stocks in the market in their sector. So this is going to be a really interesting company. I've talked about it before, but if you just blinked this week, you missed that it went up 45%. Now, we're going to compare it to some of its peers, not on a price to sales ratio necessarily, but at what kind of volatility, what kind of risk you have, and then also how much it's moved up this year compared to its peers, because it has almost remained unmoved over the last 3 months or the last 2 months since the beginning of the year compared to its competitors, which are up 200 and about 300%. So this is a really interesting one. They update their guidance it seems like every week or two, and it's making me more and more bullish on the company. Now, I will say this. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've been adding to this position a lot during the dip this last week and a half or last 2 weeks. I've been buying other companies. This company is one, though, that I have given some guidance on. I've given my opinion a lot in our Patreon group that I'm still bullish on it. The reason I didn't buy the dip, one, is because I already have a lot of exposure to the sector. It's actually probably the sector I have the most exposure to of anything. Second of all, there were a lot of deals out there. So honestly, there were a lot of companies I got in on that I think are going to do really well. So this was one that I didn't get, but I could have added more to if I wanted more exposure to the sector. Now, before we get into it, if you guys don't mind hitting the like button, I really appreciate that. Also, there is a link down there to Patreon and to WeBull. If you want to see exactly what I buy and sell, you can check out the Patreon. I've been answering everyone's questions every single day in there, along with telling them exactly what I buy and sell. And there's that link down to WeBull, so you can deposit $100, get 2 free stocks worth up to $1,850. You can trade before the market opens and after it opens. Now, the sector that this is in is the Bitcoin mining sector. So right here, this is why I have such high exposure to the sector. I already have Bitcoin. I have a good portion of Bitcoin, more than I have in any individual stock. I also have Ethereum, which is also in the crypto space. Then I have stablecoin in here too. There is a link down below to BlockFi if you're interested. Bitcoin is really at all-time highs here. So I really think this is going to continue running. You can take a look. They pay 6% on Bitcoin. They pay you that every month. So definitely check that out, 6% APY. But the company I'm looking at today is CLSK. And if you've seen this before, if you've seen me talk about it, wait a second here. So just in the last 5 days, you can see it touched down to $18, under $18. Now it's up about 70%. Now, this is still, I think, a relatively good price to buy if you're looking long term, if you're bullish on the sector. It moved up 17% today, or about 18% if you include after hours. And the interesting thing about this one is they have not moved up like some of their counterparts, but they just got a big upgrade. So BTIG initiates coverage on CleanSpark with a buy rating and a $45 price target. There's another company that issued a buy rating on them. You can see here the main reason I think people are feeling like there's a risk with this company as opposed to some other ones we'll get into is that there is a lawsuit against them. So this might be one of those, ambulance chasing lawyers. You can see here this law firm filed lawsuits against CLSK, APA, and XL. This has been on their radar for a while because there's a short report. First of all, we can see here that there are buys by the company's employees. You can see here $100,000 buy, $45,000, $34,000, $100,000, $10,000. Now, these were sells, but they're uninformed sells and they're uninformed buys. Now, by that, I took a look. This is on tip ranks, so you can take a look at them. This is from uninformed transactions, including employee stock gains, scheduled sell-offs, and timed purchases. So something that's already set in the future, nothing that they, were trying to sell at the last second or anything like that. It's not like that. And I'll get to their competitors here in a second, but they have an outperform rating. They have a moderate buy with an average price target of $47.50, bullish sentiment, bought shares from insider activity. Tip ranks investors are very positive. The news sentiment is bearish because of the lawsuit and everything, and the technicals are positive. So this is a really interesting company in this time. Now, they did just announce that they are going to secure, or that they secured additional miners to further increase hash rate. They acquired another 1,150 miners, and they're scheduled for delivery June 2021. Now, this will increase their mining rate significantly. So I think it will be about a 40% increase. This is what they had said before. They're expecting right around 2 Bitcoin a day from this. If you think, okay, 50,000 per Bitcoin, that's 100,000 per day. That's 365 days a year. They already have another side of their business, which is one of the reasons that I'm really bullish on this too. So they have another side of their business. They're expecting about 10 million from that side, maybe 20 million. They had said 20 million for this year. So let's use that. 20 million and then another 36 million. That's a $56 million revenue for the year, and they're going to grow quickly because they only had 10 million from last year. They only had $10 million in revenue last year. Their market cap is 652. It was significantly less than this, obviously. It was under 400 million for a little while. But again, you're getting about 11 to 12 price to sales ratio. Of course, there is some risk, but take a look at this compared to some of its competitors. Let's look just since the beginning of the year. You can see here that we were $29.05 right at the end of the year. We're up 5%. 5% for this company. Let's take a look at it compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin at the beginning of the year, if you don't remember, was actually significantly less expensive. So you can see here it's up almost exactly 100% since the 31st. Now, if we look at Marathon, another Bitcoin mining company, or Mara, you might know it by that name, you can see here that on December 31st, it was at $10.44. Now it's up 300%. You can take a look at Riot, and this is very similar here, where it was about up 272% since the beginning of the year. Now, of course, all these companies are trying to acquire as many Bitcoin miners as possible. And I'll be honest, there are a lot of different terminology for all this. And it's hard to know exactly because it's not like, okay, this hash rate equals this Bitcoin, or maybe it doesn't. I just don't understand. But you can see here, Mara is valued around $4 billion. And if we take a look at the revenue, this is the third quarter. They announced about 250 to 300,000 a month here. The reason I say a month is because we go down a little bit, and they talked about 11xing based on the number of miners that they were getting and the cost of Bitcoin. So they said at the current Bitcoin prices, our deployment of new miners has the potential to produce more than 11-fold our monthly revenue. So let's say they have $3.3 million worth of revenue a quarter. That's about what we're talking about with CLSK. Now, they are acquiring more miners since then. They keep on getting more announcements. They bought some money, or they bought some Bitcoin. They did a offering and got a bunch of money and then threw it in Bitcoin. Riot, though, is pretty similar. If you take a look at Riot, they are valued almost the same as Mara, about $3.8 billion. And if you look here, they don't have that much revenue in Bitcoin either. So they have about 2.6 Bitcoin a day that they mined during the first 9 months of the year. And of course, this is increasing, right? This is increasing. So take that into account. But that would be about similar to what we are going to mine here in the next couple months for CLSK. But take a look. Take a look at those market caps versus this one. 650. This is valued at 1/6 the market cap, and they're mining, or they will mine, about the same. They are expecting to increase revenue dramatically also, just like Riot and Mara. And of course, Riot and Mara we're looking at about 3 months ago, or even 6 months ago, compared to CleanSpark. But that is something that you should take note of. CleanSpark is trading at a much lower multiple because they haven't had the revenues yet. They just acquired their Bitcoin mining company at the very end of last year. They only had it for 20 days in the quarter, about 3 weeks in the quarter, and they haven't really shown a lot of the revenue yet. So we were talking about the 2 Bitcoin a day here. However, they are expanding, and they think they can get up to 6 to 9 Bitcoin a day in the future. They've said this before. They think that they can get up to 6 to 9 Bitcoin, and the sector is very bullish. So they're expecting to be able to triple or quadruple their Bitcoin mining rate. They're saying maybe by the end of the year. So maybe triple or quadruple by the end of the year. Think about that. That could be 150 million in revenue in addition to the other side of their business. And the great thing about this is that the other side of their business is completely separate. So they're an energy company at heart. They acquired this company and they're adding to it a lot, but they have an energy sector exposure that these other companies don't seem to have. They are going to be able to hopefully expand this side of their business, and it's completely different from this. So it's almost got some downside protection. Now, I would say that's almost a trade-off with the fact they have a lawsuit. I think those go about hand in hand now, or they're kind of like equal weighting, positive and negative for me. But the fact that they're talking about tripling their Bitcoin mining rate from where they're going to be here after this acquisition. Now, of course, that actually has to happen. Also, if we start thinking, okay, what if Bitcoin actually goes to 100,000? I didn't even hit on that, but imagine they start mining 9 Bitcoin a day and they're at 100,000. Let's just round that up instead of 900,000 a day in revenue. Let's say that's $1 million. This is very profitable. The thing is, they only have to get above, I think it was $6,000 or $7,000 to per Bitcoin to be profitable on this side of the business. So the margins are exponential, right? So they would have a very high margin if they're getting $100,000 per Bitcoin, about $1 million a day from their Bitcoin mining operations. And I know this is pretty far out there, but that's $365 million of revenue. How much of that is going to be either put back in the business or going to be profit? I think a lot of it because of the huge amount of margin that they're going to have from this. Now, of course, I could be wrong. This is a risk because of the lawsuits. Of course, they still need to increase their revenue, and we're talking about massive revenue increase. They only had about $2.4 million worth of revenue last quarter. However, they just had acquired this Bitcoin mining company. I really want to see what they do in their next quarter earnings. I would love to see what kind of numbers they have and to see if they can live up to the hype. It has been unmoved really, and I am bullish on it. Again, I would be buying. I would have bought more if I didn't already have all this exposure to Bitcoin, but there's something to be said for Bitcoin miners as opposed to Bitcoin too. So who knows, I might be picking up more of it as my portfolio grows because I just bought a house, so I'll have a lot more money to throw at the market now. So this is definitely a company you want to take a look at. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for hitting the like button, checking out Patreon, checking out BlockFi, or checking out WeBull. All those things are great, and I use all of them. I really appreciate that. And if you want to see the video I did on another stock that I'm really bullish on also, and they just had their earnings, definitely check out this video here on the end screen. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.